Hey everybody, it's Adam Farkas. Welcome to another edition of ODwire TV. Now, as you know, if you've watched any of our programs before, technology is sort of what drives us. It's why we get up in the morning. It's why we do what we do. We love talking about it. Whether it's diagnostic instruments or products you dispense to your patients, like contact lenses. Technology is really why we do the things we do, particularly technologies that help you in your practice, and today is no different. We're going to be talking about permanent water surface contact lens technology from Alcon. And believe it or not, if you've cracked open a copy of Tyler's Quarterly lately, you may or may not have noticed that these lenses represent their own category of lenses, like hydrogels or silicone hydrogels. So the three permanent water surface technologies are scientifically advanced and have some important characteristics and features. And so today we've decided to invite two clinical experts to talk to us a little bit about these lenses. Dr. Susan Resnick is a principal at Drs. Farkas, Castillo, Resnick and Associates in New York, New York. Fitting contact lenses has been her primary focus throughout her career, and she served as an advisor to industry and as an investigator in the contact lens and pharmaceutical industries. And Dr. Michael Slusky is the president at Chicagoland Vision Consultants in Schaumburg, Illinois. In his practice, he also emphasizes cornea and contact lens management, and he too has worked closely with industry to help consult on the latest contact lens technologies. And just to remind everyone, this episode of ODwire TV is sponsored by Alcon, and both Drs. Resnick and Slusky are paid consultants for Alcon, and were compensated by Alcon for participating in this discussion today. And so Susan, Michael, thank you so much for being here today.
Pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
So I guess, we should probably start off from the basics, right? So what is a contact lens surface technology? Susan, maybe you want to step us through it?
So a lens surface technology is something that we look at that's obviously very important, because what we're looking to do is ensure that the contact lens has certain key features and benefits that make it as compatible as possible and consistent with delivering the comfort and the vision that the patient wants. So there are a lot of different factors we can talk about when we talk about lens surface technology. And that would relate to how soft the lens is, how wettable it is, how smooth it is, and even how well it resists bacteria and surface deposits. So these are all things, as we know, when it interacts with the eye, that can contribute both to visual and physical comfort when patients wear their contact lenses. And they can be different for different types of lenses. We think about a daily disposable and what are we demanding of a daily disposable lens, but not every patient wears a daily disposable. And what about the patients that are in a reusable category? We're going to look for other things, and we're going to be getting into that in just a few minutes. So these are things that we want to ensure as comfortable an interface between the contact lens and the ocular surface.
Right, and this can be pretty important to patients, right? Michael, what's your experience been with it?
Oh, true. I think of the surface technology as being the primary thing. It's the first point of touch. It's no different than really putting on a shirt. You want that shirt to be comfortable all day long.
People define success when wearing contact lenses in a variety of different ways. That would be one way, I guess. But Susan, what's your own personal definition after doing this for quite a while now?
Is the wearing experience greater than whatever little kinds of annoyances that they may have attributed in the past with contact lenses, whether it's difficulty handling it or end of day discomfort or less than adequate vision. So if we can get them over any little obstacle that they previously associated with lenses, we've made a big improvement in the wearing experience, and that's the value that a good contact lens will bring to the patient and to the practice.
Right. And so in your mind, the issues that come up are, comfort is probably primary to a lot of people. Michael, do you see the same thing?
I certainly do. I really find that with 1 out of 5 patients dropping out of contact lenses, even new wearers, there's a substantial amount of them that are not going to continue in contact lens, and even worse, they're not going to tell the practitioner that they're not going to continue with their contact lenses. So it's quality of life. We're giving somebody the opportunity to enjoy visual freedom without their corrective spectacles, and that really follows an obligation. So if I make that commitment to my patient, I got to use a product, a device that's going to substantiate that so that they can enjoy their life with the contacts on.
Right. And, as patients feel discomfort or have problems with their lenses, it can be due to as everyone knows, a wide variety of factors, but is there any sort of commonality that both of you have sort of seen when, people are having problems with their lenses in general? How about you, Susan?
So I think it all goes back to the tear film. We all know that while the cornea is the main refracting surface, it's the tear film that covers the cornea. And so if you have that first layer that's compromised, it's downhill from there. And so we know when we put a lens on the eye, it's basically splitting that tear film in half. You're going to have half your tears behind the lens, half your tears in front of the lens. And with a soft contact lens, it's the tear film that's closest to the air that would be most likely to become compromised at some point. And we all know that environmental factors, evaporation, not blinking, staring, medication. So all of these things, some of which are modifiable, some of which aren't. But if we can get a lens that has the least negative effect or the most positive effect on tear film stability, patient will be more comfortable, the vision will be more stable. And to Michael's point, we often forget that, some studies show that 20% of new wearers will drop out of lens wear for vision or, comfort or handling reasons. And, half of our patients, or more than half, aren't even telling us. So it really behooves us to not just say, how's everything, to probe a little bit more. And what I like to do is I like to ask the patient, how many hours do you wear the lenses per day? And then I follow it up with, how many comfortable hours do you wear the lens per day? Because if there's a mismatch there, it tells me that I can make some changes to make things better.
And the lens itself, as you mentioned, can disrupt the tear film just by the sheer act of putting it on one's eye. But what about other factors as well, besides contact lenses, that might be compromising the tear film even before you do something like fit a contact lens?
So many aspects affect us in that statement. First of all, it's our general health. There's medications that we may be taking. There's the environment. So many individuals are spending time on digital devices. The blink rate goes down. And what's interesting to me about it is it's become second nature. It's not something people think about. And oftentimes we have to remind them to simply blink, but more time spent staring. And when you disrupt that tear film, that has to have an impact. That's man-made. That's not a natural process.
And these factors are unavoidable, right? You're not going to tell people, no, you can't use your smartphone. No, you can't sit in air conditioning. No, you can't do these types of things. So you as the clinician have to kind of work around these limitations that you're dealt with.
Yeah, Adam, I've learned that unless my patient's truly harming themselves, I don't necessarily want to change their lifestyle. My job is to understand their lifestyle and try to find a solution for their lifestyle. And that truly is the key word, is a device that can provide them function throughout what they want to do, their needs and their wants.
And so when choosing a contact lens, right, you have to kind of think about this as well. What, when you look at a patient, what are their wants and needs, and knowing their lifestyle and getting a sense of it before you actually try to put them in a certain material.
Now that brings me to something, and I've kind of said this to over the years to many individuals in the hallways or in lectures or even to my own partners. It's so easy to look at a lens or a lens design and just say, okay, this looks good, I'm going to fit this to all my patients. I really believe that the lens has to be fit to the patient versus the patient to the lens. And now that we have choices, we can very carefully and methodically evaluate that ocular surface prior to fitting and choose, to our best of our knowledge empirically and through diagnostics, what's going to be the best match. It doesn't mean you're going to get it right on the first shot, but we at least know that we can go to these advanced technologies, and that's the beauty of having the permanent water surface technologies, is we have this family of lenses that enables us to just take a look at the category as a whole and meet not just the wearing schedule, but the physical and visual profiles of the patient as well.
Right, and so let's get into it a little bit, right? That's what we were here to talk about today, is the sort of permanent water surface contact lens technology, and trying to find the best fit in terms of a lens that you could fit your patients with. And why don't we just dive in a little bit and talk about where this permanent water surface technology is actually being used and the lenses that actually contain it. So maybe, Michael, you could dive in and tell us a little bit about it.
This is fun for me. So let me break that up into two parts, share with my colleagues, and then what I share with my patients. So for my colleagues, you've heard Adam mention that this is a separate category in Tyler's. We know that already. Alcon has a portfolio portfolio of products. There are 3 distinct lenses. Each has a different property, even though they share some similarities of water surface technology. But these are not repurposed lenses, and each one has a specific purpose for a patient's need. And here's what I tell my patients. It's always been the same thing. It's always been lids, tears, and your cornea. And then I go ahead and I put a piece of plastic right in between. That's got to change something, right? But imagine, what if I can take that piece of plastic and change the surface as close to a liquid as possible? That's a philosophy I think about when I think of water surface technology.
And just taking a look at the lenses themselves, I know that Alcon has done a bunch of studies, showing breakup time, but maybe you could step us through just real briefly, what they've looked at and what this means, at least in an in vitro setting.
So I think I just need to preface this, Adam. When we talk about in vitro, we can't actually make a connection between what happens in a laboratory setting and what we can see on our patients' eyes. But what it allows us to do is look at relative differences between technologies off of the eye. And it tells us about the properties of the materials itself. And then that's what helps us make the match. So Alcon uses a very interesting video method of looking at water breakup time, lens surface moisture stability. And they call it the eye drop technique. And they actually soak the lens for a good amount of time in a phosphate buffered saline to get all of the solution off the lens that's in with the blister pack. And then they take the lens off on a dome, keeping the lens in its natural shape. And they take a video of when that moisture starts to evaporate. And, we can see here in the graphic what the time frame is for the DAILIES TOTAL1, the PRECISION1, and the TOTAL30 relative to each of those, but also relative to other lenses in their respective classes. And we can see that the DAILIES TOTAL1 is certainly the category leader, and I don't think any of us is surprised with that. We've been working with these lenses for many years, and many of us know how that water gradient technology is so good in retaining the moisture. And we'll talk a little bit more about the polymer and the surface in a little bit. But we can see that the DAILIES TOTAL1 lasts for about 39 seconds before that moisture starts to break up. The PRECISION1 is next, and that's at about 30 seconds. And competitors range from about 5 to 18 seconds. If we look at both the monthly and the 2-week lenses, the TOTAL30, the moisture lasted for about 27 seconds before it started to break up. And that was followed by the Air Optics plus Hydroglide at 19 seconds. And then, the competitors in the categories came in anywhere from about 9 to 15 seconds. So permanent water surface technology lenses showed superior lens surface moisture stability. And again, just to reiterate, this is in an in vitro setting.
And if we're looking at the 3 different permanent water surface lenses, what's interesting to me is that it's not all the same technology, right? So we like to sort of group them together like you saw in Tyler's, but the technology that each lens is using is actually different. And maybe we can talk about that for a little bit. Maybe we could start talking about the granddaddy, right? The original, DAILIES TOTAL1, and then work our way across the other 2.
DAILIES TOTAL1 was launched in 2013. It was the first water surface technology, but it uses something called water gradient technology. So let me explain exactly what that is. Contact lenses has traditionally been homogeneous polymer plastic. And DAILIES TOTAL1 starts out with a 33% water content in its core. As it transitions to the surface, it gradually moves to nearly 100% liquid at the surface. But that transition, not only is it smooth, it also creates a thicker cushion of liquid. That is going to be your interactive surface with the eye and with the tears and the environment.
So the on-eye performance, if we wanted to compare it, let's say, to the AccuView Oasis One Day, Alcon looked at a lot of different features that we look in practice, and they looked at, end-of-day comfort, lubricity after 16 hours of wear, tear film stability, and tear film breakup. And they found that performed excellent in a variety of important outcomes, outperforming the One Day Oasis, which is a lens that a lot of doctors, patients might compare it to. It also demonstrated superior lubricity after 16 hours of wear. And to just tack on a little bit more of the science of what Michael was just saying, it also has something in there called smart tears, which is a compound called phosphatidylcholine, which is actually a phospholipid that's actually found in natural tears. So yes, it's that thick cushion of moisture, but it's also that extra component of the phosphatidylcholine.
From your perspective as clinicians, Michael said, again, that these lenses have been around since 2013. I'm actually wearing them right now. Tells you what I think of them. But what do you guys have actually seen in clinical practice, with all the thousands of patients that you've had? How has Dailies TOTAL1 performed for you over that period of time?
Looking at the feedback from my patients, I ask them questions. Is there anything about the contact lens that I prescribed for you that you wish could be better? And that gives that patient the opportunity to speak freely. They can judge me. They can tell me if I'm doing the right thing for them. Consistently, I'm finding that patients are saying, I love these. All of those aspects that I mentioned earlier and Susan followed up on, especially with the smart tears technology, those are the key elements that provide vision, comfort, and consistency over time. Again, it's going back to, I want my patients to feel like I feel by not wearing anything when they're wearing their contact lenses. I love the clinical performance.
And we've spoken a lot actually about the way the lens feels, but how does it actually perform visually, particularly over the period of time that people are going to be wearing them, right? Where, the goal is you're shooting for all day. How does it actually work? Susan, what's your experience been?
So, my patients love it. I wear them too, Adam. I know you do. And I happen to be in the multifocal. Is that a surprise?
Me too.
And look, I'm staring at a microscope all day, just as Michael is. And, we have dry conditions here in New York City. And so, it's great because of the lubricity and, the feeling of comfort and not having on. But I'd have to say that the optics in and of themselves are really, really good. And I hear this from patients when I refit them. It's, there's 20 happy if there's 20/20 or 20/20 plus. And I'm just getting that clear, consistent vision, throughout the day.
When you're thinking about which patients you are going to try to fit into Dailies TOTAL1, is there sort of, if you have a vision in your head, what does a Dailies TOTAL1 patient actually look like? Besides you and me, Susan, what does a Dailies TOTAL1 patient, when you think about them, look like?
I really have struggled with this a little bit because I love the technology of all the water surface lenses. And I have a feeling that a lot of my colleagues are asking the same question. Okay, I've got this technology. Who do I put in what? Do I look at function, cost, desire? What are the factors? So I'm using Dailies TOTAL1 platform for my high demand patients. So let me describe what I consider a high demand patient. This is a person that has tried contact lenses before and has checked off on the medical history form. Yes, I've worn them. No, I'm not interested in them. It begs the question, why are you not interested? Whether it was vision, whether it was comfort, any of those things, I call that high demand because that's a challenge. High demand also means somebody that has a long day. Dailies TOTAL1 has a great platform for that. So I like that aspect about it. That's the position I have. And this has been a consistent, comfortable lens for them to wear. The vision has been consistent over time. It makes it simple. It's maintenance free. It's a great place to start and keep the patients. So that is what I consider a high demand patient.
Okay, well, great. Well, thank you so much, both Susan and Michael, for being here today, giving us all, this great advice and all these little points that you can share with your patients as well. So thanks again for being here.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thanks, Adam.
And for those of you watching, join us for part 2 of our conversation, where Susan and Michael will discuss the most recent addition to Alcon's permanent water surface technology contact lenses, PRECISION1 and TOTAL30.